What's up, everyone? I'm Shill. Today we're going to talk about Theta and how it's absolutely murdered it the past couple of months. But with altcoin season right here at our doorstep, how high can we see Theta for April? Today we're going to talk about the basics for some of you newcomers, some fundamentals, technicals, dive into some Theta chart history, which I think is going to offer some clues as to where we can see Theta for April. Let's start shilling. And jumping right into the market, coin market cap, we have the overall market cap at 1.765 trillion, which is awesome to see. And we also have the Bitcoin dominance down at 59%. The ETH is down a little bit to 11.2, I think down from about 11.8. This is really good to see because we still have all this money flowing into the market, and it's not going into Bitcoin or ETH. So that means it's going to flow down into these altcoins. Another big move right here. Theta has flipped Litecoin for the number 9 spot, which is awesome. And we're going to be well on our way to flipping Uniswap here in the very, very near future. Uniswap does have their big news with their 3.0 rollout in May, but I think Theta is still a strong contender with their mainnet coming in June. So Theta for the day, we are at $12.68. We're obviously pushing a high for the day as we do roll into Sunday. I believe most of Saturday we sat around right about 12 even. I know a lot of the time I've seen us around like 12:06 or so. So it's good to see us starting to make another surge as we head into Sunday. So for those of you that are new to Theta, what is it? Theta is a blockchain powered network that is built for video streaming. So it's a decentralized network that lets users share their bandwidth and computing resources on a peer-to-peer level, and this overall increases streaming capabilities and streaming qualities on a broad spectrum. So you may be asking, why is this even relevant? Well, with big video streaming platforms continuing to grow, you have Twitch, YouTube, Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, Disney Plus. There's too many users and not enough bandwidth to be able to support smooth, consistent quality. Take Twitch as a perfect example. You have a bunch of partnered streamers, however, only top tier guys during peak hours are able to maintain 1080p and actually deliver that to all of their viewers. Everybody else gets left with the scraps and is downscaled. That's a perfect example of how we just have too many users and can't support the bandwidth. So Theta comes in and lightens the load with their peer-to-peer resource sharing. This is literally Internet 2.0 shit. So with that being said, let's dive into some fundamentals. So overall, the fundamentals for Theta look really, really good. I want to start here on Lunar Crush. They just evaluate social media engagement, how it ties into price, which I think is important. We live in a day and age where social media is a really big driver in our society, and a lot of people get their news and information from social media and rarely fact check. It's obviously a bad thing, but I digress. So social media engagement is up 151% just for the week, which is awesome. This is a surge from like the 20-ish percentile that it was at the beginning of the month. We obviously saw big spikes in engagement once we started hitting these all-time highs, which is good. People are taking notice that Theta is king. Now, moving on from that, I do believe that this was a big piece of news that kind of slid under a lot of people's radar. And that's that they got their second US patent for their high transaction throughput for the micropayments. This allows them to be able to build and develop the payment system that is powered by the blockchain. So we should see some price action from this because it will obviously create some cash flow. Now, the big thing everybody wanted to talk about was the mainnet 3.0 being delayed. I don't think this is going to cause a lot of negative price action, simply because I think a lot of people didn't even know what the mainnet was. They sold the news. Now it's kind of out there. We're waiting for it on the horizon. So those people that sold are going to buy back in, most likely at a premium. Their loss, our gain. However, there are two sides to this story. The first is that the mainnet just wasn't ready, so that they delayed the launch to make sure that they could have it completed and fully operational before rolling it out. I think that's important. Last thing you want to do is tarnish your name by rolling out a broken product just to meet a deadline. However, the second side of things was that there was a potential Coinbase listing, so it was delayed on purpose. So this was pulled off Reddit and says an ex-colleague who moved to Coinbase as a developer leaked in a private group chat that Theta will be listed on the Coinbase on April 21st. The postponement of the mainnet has something to do with it as well. So this is really, really big because it's obviously going to generate a lot of FOMO. People are going to jump into Theta thinking that there's a Coinbase listing and that there's a price surge. Like I said, not a lot of people do their research to figure out if that's real or fake. However, if it ends up being true, this is going to be huge because it opens Theta up to a new market of customers. So, for example, I know a lot of people in the US who are newer to crypto have a lot of issues getting into Theta. It's not super easy. If you don't know what you're doing, you usually have to transfer money from one exchange to another because KuCoin won't let Americans purchase currency on their site, and you cannot complete the verification process to be able to link your bank account if you're from America. So using a VPN and transferring funds from one exchange to another can be a little bit daunting, and this makes that whole process a lot easier. So I do think this is really big. And on top of that, they mentioned April 21st, and that's going to play a key role in what I have to show you in the charts. So without further ado, the moment everybody's been waiting for, let's jump into the charts. So here we are, debatably my favorite part, diving into the charts. So I brought you all the way back to the end of January, beginning of February. I want to kind of lay out the new trend that we've been starting to form over the last couple of months, which I think will give us a key indicator of where we can expect to end up for April. Now, this is going to be kind of a lot of information, so try to bear with me, but some things to pay attention to and keep track of as we move through these charts. Number one is going to be the overall trend of where we're going and what we're forming historically over these 2 months and how it is so similar to the previous. Second thing I want you to pay attention to is when we hit these all-time highs, notice we'll hit them, they'll turn to resistance, and we'll almost immediately flip them into support. Last thing I want you to pay attention to is the dates. The dates are really important. When we're doing these things is going to be critical. So jumping in, we hit this high right here the end of January. After that, we retrace, we hit lows, highs, kind of flatten out and consolidate a little bit going into February 1st. After that, we break the all-time high, confirm it a couple of times, making this resistance on the 5th. We retrace, we come back up here to break this resistance line and this all-time high, flipping it to support. And we create a new all-time high on the 9th of February. We retrace, retest it a few times, and we flip it. After this second one, we don't return to this resistance level, this support level, until the end of the month. So after this, we have a complete run-up all the way to February 20th. After the 20th, we retrace, we hit a low, we hit a high, and we consolidate for the rest of the month. Now, mind you, we did dip below the support level right here in this consolidation period, but there's a lot less price action in this month where it's a little bit different in March, but still very similar trend. So March, same deal. We come up here, we break the resistance and the previous all-time high, create a new all-time high, we retrace, come back up here to test it again, and that all-time high was done on March 5th, so we're hitting the 5th twice in a row. After we break that resistance, we run it up to a new all-time high on the 11th of March, so just 2 days after February's second high. And mind you, February is a shorter month than March, so we're going to have a little bit of discrepancy in the time frame overall because March is a longer month. So bear with me. After we hit this this high on the 11th, same thing. We retrace, we come back to test it, we break it, we confirm the support, boom, run up after the second one again. So once again, we hit this second big tabletop right here, and we run it up till the end of the month where we hit our all-time high, this time on the 24th. So in February it was the 20th, in March it's the 24th. Same deal. After we hit the all-time high, we come back here to break down a little bit, we hit a low, we hit a high, and we start to consolidate. So those trends are very, very similar, and month over month, it tends to follow the same pattern. And it may not be an identical trend, but the pattern itself overall is the same. We start the month out low, hit a high the first week of the month, then we hit another high about the second week of the month, then we run it up the third week of the month, hit an all-time high, and after that, we have a pretty big 30% retracement. And so far, month over month, it's fallen between 30-33%. And we start to consolidate. Now, I think we are going to start the month of April at about $12.50. Let me tell you how I found that figure. I took these consolidation periods after we had our highs, took the low, took the high, divided it by 2 to create an average, and then from that number, it tended to be about a 5% jump was where we started each month so far. So I did the same thing for April, thinking we're going to follow the same trend. I mean, it's very likely we're going to follow what has now been pretty established as an overall month-over-month trend. So after starting there at about 1250, personally, I think from here, we can 2x our all-time high, creating a $30 theta. Now, doing some math, I was able to come up with some other numbers which partially support that. If we look at the low of the previous month and the high, and then we also look at the low and the retracement period, we can get a little bit of a wedge that gives us a range of where we could have price fall and end the month at. So I took two different little mock-ups of where we could end up. I took a realistic mock-up, and then everybody wants the moon numbers, so I did both. The moon numbers are based purely off our exponential trend, which is we're obviously hockey sticking quite a bit. So I just only accounted for March's numbers and March's gains to mock up April. So that'll be the first price targets I show you is just the absolute moon numbers. The second one, I took an average of the 2 months because that's a little bit of a safer bet. So if we come up here, based on the trajectory of March and our price action in March, if we start the month off at 1250, we could moon all the way up to $60. And that's once again based off of just the trajectory that March has established for us to launch into for April. And the lower end would be somewhere in the $40 range. So that's the moon range right there, is we would land somewhere in here. Now, the more conservative numbers, which is I took averages of February and March, would put us at a high of 43 and a low of 30. So once again, we're seeing this low of 30, which is where I think we have a good potential to 2x to. So I really do think this is a strong indicator that we end up here at that 30 range. Another thing I wanted to bring up, we go back and we look at when we had these big breakouts and we hit all-time highs. February 20th. Oh my gosh. March 24th. And what did we see about this potential Coinbase listing? April 21st. So once again, we're falling in line with having huge run-ups right after the 20th. So if we do get this Coinbase listing, we're already going to see a bullish trend just based on history. Add that into the mix. This moon number could be possible. Now, I thought these numbers were completely just crazy. But if you take a moment and you pull a fib, they're actually fairly justifiable. So you come down here, you start in February. So imagine we hadn't seen March at the time. You pull a fib from the low of February to the high of February. This will kind of give you your ranges to look for. We broke the fib. It tops out up here at the 4.7 range, which would have been $11.97. Honestly, we started finding support here, but we obviously broke it with our all-time high of $14.99 up here. So the fib for February extending into March obviously supported us topping out that high. So if we do the same thing for March now to see where we could end up for April, I think you'll be pretty surprised. So come down here once again, low of March, high of March, shrink this down a little bit, and boom, where do we see this run up? we are landing right up here. The projections based on March was putting us at about $60. The fib tops out at 59. Keep in mind, from March, we blew the fib out of the water. So the fact that we're this close to these ranges helps support that with the right news, we could end up at a $60 theta. Now we come down here, we also have key levels that are falling in line perfectly with the 3.2. And once again, our $30 price target on top of the low conservative range number from the average of February and March also lines up perfectly with the 2.2 ratio. So once again, I think this is our most likely scenario that we will hit $30 for the month of April. Well, that's all I've got. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about that $30 price target and even that $60 moonshot. How long are you guys holding your theta as well? I'll see you guys next time. As always, you know the deal. Keep it chill and keep up the shill.